before it used to be like, I don't know, 200 or something if you had the high level of cross. So
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
difference, I think. Quite big.
I agree. But I think the hero is still
Okay.
going to be big, but it just means that Quas Exalt is a little bit weaker. So the next is Jakiro. Basically, the slow on Dual Breath has been changed, so it's slightly worse at level 1, 28%. But it now scales up to 40% when max, as opposed to just being 30% at all levels. So I think
I
the idea here is
think
to encourage people to level it
yeah.
more.
Start putting points in it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because
I think the 2% nerf at level 1 is almost it's
yeah,
Nothing.
almost completely
and
negligible.
obviously, I mean, mathematically it makes a small difference, but in terms of game impact, I think it's quite small. Whereas the 40% slow, a 10% boost at level 4 is decent.
Mm.
But I think the problem was people only took 1 point into it because
Yeah.
the mana cost scaled too much. So this
If
might make some change to that build. But
if your team
I
has
think
other
that
reliable
makes.
disable, I was going to say if your team has other reliable disables, you could theoretically forego multiple levels in Ice Path and max out your damage
yeah,
output through Dual Breath and Liquid Fire.
yeah, yeah. What do you want to say, Ottoman?
And this is encouraging that.
I definitely think that this will change a little bit the hero bit because before you max out Liquid Fire, max out what's called Ice Path, and you put 1 point here. That's enough. You go
Yeah.
stats afterwards because at that point the damage doesn't make a difference.
Hmm.
But here with more slow and it's attack speed as well, which with Liquid Fire is really big.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you
So
you
I
could
think
slow their attack speed down to almost nothing
Yeah.
between the two of
Well, I
them.
mean, yeah, it's more than Phoenix is going to be slowing by. So
It's 90%. It's a total of 90%. It's
yeah,
what 50% max liquid fire, and this is 40% here. So 90% attack
yeah,
speed slow. That's huge.
that is it's
yeah.
really
So
big.
I mean, I think it definitely, like, some teams were picking him up as sort of a pocket hero. I think it definitely buffs those teams. I feel because again that 2% reduction at level 1 is almost negligible, but it now means that you've got sort of more of an advantage from taking multiple points in dual breath. But yeah, the next is to Juggernaut. So basically, his spin is no longer cancelled by Chrono, Toss, Black Hole, Global Silence, or Doom. And in addition, the cooldown's been buffed slightly. It's now 18 seconds when max as opposed to 21.
I like the toss change the most because now your tiny can throw you and you're spinning.
Yeah.
I don't know that you know,
Yeah,
but
the pocket,
And I guess a Void on your team can now stick a Chrono on top of you while you're next to somebody,
yes,
which
you
is
can
kind of
still do damage. Yeah.
yeah, which is kind of nice. Yeah. Uh, I feel like it's an okay buff, but again, I don't think it
Only one thing
really.
I want to ask though.
Yep, go.
Okay, global silence. If you're spinning, he casts global silence. Will you still be silenced?
I think. Yeah, yeah,
well,
because the silence goes through BKB, and in all
but
other respects, Blade Fury is like BKB.
Blade Fury silences you anyway, so
Mm.
you won't be suffering much extra
But I
silence
think the thing is,
anyway.
if he uses global silence and you've got 1 second of spin left, you'll come out of it still silenced.
Yes,
Is sort of
yes,
more the important point. Yeah,
yeah.
Alright, not much really. 3 seconds more on level
yeah,
4. Not much of a
not
difference.
much. Yeah. The next is Coddle. So mana leak, the percentage has now been changed to a flat 5%. So that's what used to be the max removal percentage. That's at level 1 now. Mana leak duration has been increased by a second at all levels. And recall can be used on targets which are slept by Naga's song. And finally, the
Forcing
knockback
heroes
distance
to.
on blinding light has been increased.
Yeah, this makes him a pretty good counter to Nagasara in a way. She sleeps someone, you bring him back, she has to cancel her sleep.
Yeah, for me, honestly, the biggest change is the mana leak. A 5%, the 5% mana drain is actually quite substantial. Like the fact that it's that at level 1 means you can just put 1 point into it, and so I mean, even at level 5, if you take 1 in illuminate, 3 in chakra, and 1 in leak, you've actually got a very scary thing to be seeing in lane. Because if it's used on you, you're going to lose all of your mana if you try and move anywhere.
Yeah, it's
Last
sort
is
of a
blind.
shame. Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say blinding light knockback distance has been increased to 400
Yep.
from
Yeah, that's
250 to
pretty
400.
big.
That is pretty big because 250 didn't feel like much, but 400 is yeah 400 is
Hmm.
huge. Not huge,
250 is
but
just the
big.
distance of a greater bash, basically.
Yeah. Again, it makes more of a change. I mean,
Like a mini. It's almost like 4-star at this point.
yeah, it's close
Yeah,
actually.
first half is like 600 and
Yeah.
this one's 400. So
It's
it's pretty
500,
close.
isn't it?
No, it's
The
600.
first half, no.
I'm pretty sure
600.
it's 6. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it makes the hero better at early levels. And as you said, Blinding Light is going to be more irritating. I don't see the hero getting picked more. Just
No.
because he's still squishy and his entire game strategy revolves around him standing still and firing these blasts, which doesn't tend to pay off.
No, well, I suppose with the slowed down meta, being able to stand around throwing horses at enemy creeps, it sort of fits into the slower gameplay. But I agree that he's probably a bit too slow and a
Yeah.
bit too monofocused.
I agree with that. So next is Conquer. The cooldown has been rescaled from 13 at all levels to 14,
Nothing
13,
big.
12, 11. Yeah, it basically means you take 2 points in X marks anyway. It means that there's slightly more incentive to take it to level 4. But overall, people still aren't going to do that just because you lose that guaranteed torrent.
Yeah.
The next is Legion Commander. So she's been put into the Captain's mode. Her duel no longer gets rid of passives. Overwhelming odds, the base damage has been reduced slightly because I mean that
Thank
was
God.
horrifying in lane. And press the attack, the mana cost has been rescaled to a flat 110. So all round,
I don't understand why the dual no longer disables passives. It made her a good counter pick to hard carriers who relied on passive steroids again, like Phantom Assassin, like Void even, because that way he can't
Yes.
backtrack, he can't bash. Troll Warlord who wouldn't get further stacks. Spectre, it'll disable her passes, which is quite huge. Overall, I just don't understand why.
Yeah,
Like,
it actually makes.
why would you bother? Why would you bother enabling her in a mode where she's more likely to be picked as a counterpick to those heroes when you're going to remove that ability to counterpick entirely? Like, it seems entirely counterproductive that you'd enable her in Captain's mode and remove the single biggest reason that she'd probably get picked for in Captain's mode.
I think one thing was it was better than Lasso in some regards. Because the issue
I
was
disagree with that.
well the issue was Lasso doesn't get rid of passives. So Duel does, and that's sort of especially against Spectre that is quite relevant. And so I obviously the reasoning is that the fact that it did get rid of the passives made it too strong as a disable.
I don't. I spend almost all of my time in the balance forums for Dota, and I never saw one complaint about the removal of passives, about the fact that dual removes passives. Not one. In fact, all the complaints I'm seeing now is about the fact that passives are no longer disabled. I don't think there was any impetus. I don't know of any impetus around that. People thought that disabling passives was OP.
I was thinking that right now if you duel any carry, they'll thank you.
Yeah,
You know,
they
they'll be
will
like,
kill you.
I
Yeah.
want to go one-on-one with you. Thank you very much. If you do,
Yeah,
Faceless
exactly.
Void,
It's
that's what he wants. He'd love to be dueled.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
the problem if you going up against the carry now is well, I think it does still disable items. To be fair, there's one thing.
Okay, but
well, yeah, it
I
does, but like,
I wouldn't duel a PA.
No.
You know,
not anymore. I
crit
wouldn't
me,
know.
and
Whereas
that's it.
before,
Yeah, pretty much.
Whereas before, like it was good. Like she had a viable reason to be picked in be picked in Captain's mode if she was in it. Now she doesn't have that. Like the only reason you would ever use her is to try and somehow get into the enemy's back lines to disable that Bane or that Skywrath Mage, which is insanely risky because you're trying to jump to their back lines, and it's why would you do that?
Yeah. Before she used to be like the hero that could take on the enemy carry because if they attack her, she could heal and lifesteal.
Yeah.
Now it's like
Yeah.
she can't. She just can't.
Like what can you do with her that's viable in terms of positioning? There isn't a whole lot you can do because the only heroes that she can duel, she can't reach safely. Certainly
Yeah.
not without dying and giving them random bonus damage.
Yeah, so
I think it's
Yeah,
it's
so
a
go on.
crazy change.
I think it means that she's not going to be picked. Is my takeaway. I think it means that she's not going to be picked to take down carriers, and I think if you're not picking her for that specific reason, then a Batrider sort of fulfills her role better for the most part.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah, I think she.
Because
But yeah, I think that's really the take.
she made a very good snowballing anti-carry because every time she countered the other team's carry, she'd get a bit more damage, so she'd become a bit better at countering the enemy carry. Now she can't counter shit, basically.
No, she can't.
Is what this does.
Yeah. Yeah, so the next is now is Leshrac. So the damage has basically his ultimate's been buffed. It deals more damage. Massive increase with Aghanims. Now more 60 more damage,
Yeah.
which is basically more than you gain for it's more than you gain for putting a single point in it, and the cost has also been rescaled, so it's down to 70 at level 1, 90, 110 as opposed to just a flat 110. So it means at level 1 you're probably still not going to take it at level 6, but it means you can theoretically put points in it earlier
But, like,
without crippling yourself.
it's
At level
amazing.
6,
Yeah. I was
at
going to
level
say,
6,
probably
if you take it, sorry, at level 6, if you take it, it's 70 mana. You activate, that's 100 damage. But after that's only 20 mana.
Mm.
So that's you can keep it up for like what 3 seconds now compared to what it used to cost
Yeah,
just to
yeah.
activate.
So I
Yeah.
think it does make a difference in terms of those early levels.
And the damage
also
is
want
big.
to point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also
No,
want to
yeah,
point out
the
that
damage has always been
level
very, very
1
good, yeah.
The level 1 damage with the Aghanim Scepter is the same as the old level 3 damage.
Yeah.
So if you get an Aghanim Scepter, you get out of your 1 point in it what you got out trying to get what you got out of it, what you would get at level 16, you can now get out of it theoretically at level 6. If you like that's pretty extreme, but it demonstrates just how
Yeah.
good this damage upgrade is.
And you don't even have to level it after that because the mana cost increases. You might be able to keep it on permanently, sort of, like for that.
Well, I mean, the thing, if you combine that fast tags, there's no difference between having putting more points in, like having put more points into it without the ags
Until
and
you get until you get to level 16. Like you can just leave it at level 1 until you get to 16, in which case it's finally broken even, but at that stage you've been dealing so much more damage that you probably have got enough gold for a bloodstone because you've gotten extra kills because you've been dealing more damage.
I mean, I think the one thing is that the hero does sort of need the buff to an extent in that he's not going to be able to push as hard early on because the tower changes. So this does, I think,
But
give
it
him.
deals 40%. Bulk you said it deals 40% more damage.
Yeah,
to
no, but
towers
because
than-
of because of
the
pushing
game itself
generally.
is slower.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
his damage to towers is fine. His damage, but his ability to push, because the fact one of the big
Yes.
draws of it was on a 24-second cooldown. So now you don't quite and whereas you can't use it as often now to try and push into towers. So I think this just gives him that little bit more scaling late game with Aghanims. Plus, early on, I think Pulse Nova is sort of the on the support Leshrac especially was sort of the overlooked skill. Because you couldn't really sustain it. This gives him a little bit more room to use it.
But also because it's difficult to successfully run a core Leshrac.
Yeah.
This is just giving more of an incentive to do so.
Exactly. Yeah. So the next is the change to the Lich. So Ice Armor now slows ranged heroes, but the same amount that it slows melee. It used to only slow by half. So
Just a nice buff.
Yeah, I think this is more a consistency change than anything else. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much to add. I mean,
No, the hero was still sort of annoying to play against. He's a decent support if you're going for more of that long game.
It's now going to be even more frustrating trying to kill towers when they've got their frost armor on them.
Yeah. Next is Linus. So again, I feel quite small. Cast range has been increased by 25, and the scaling has been increased. So it now caps at 2.2. So it's
The range on Lightstrike Raid, it's now ridiculously overpowered. Like that extra 25 range just makes so much difference.
You can't run. Yeah, I mean, overall, the stun is sort of nice. It means that it's actually quite similar to most other AoE stuns, around 2 seconds.
I think it's not exactly the stun itself that makes it better, but now you're like, all right, I might as well level it up for the half second.
Exactly.
Before people used to max Dragon Slave and her passive and put 1 point in Light Strike Array because the damage was increasing, but stun was the same. Then stun is a bit better. Now the stun is even more better. It's like, you know what? I might as well just max it
Exactly.
out.
Yeah.
More damage and more stun.
Yeah. So instead of 4-1-4, people might start going 4-4-1.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, that seems. I think that's basically the idea. Again, to encourage people to actually remind you can put points in their skill. The next is Lion. So basically,
Holy
plus 20
crap.
damage at to his stun at level 1.
First blood.
Yeah, well, no, I mean that's basically the thing. It means that he isn't like. It means that Impale isn't like the worst skill ever at level 1. I think it is still awful, but
It's a pretty good level 1 stun, but the damage was shit.
yeah, I mean, which is sort of the thing. I think
And it's now standard level 1 damage.
I mean,
which
both
is
of these
nice.
just I mean, both supports aren't really favored that much. So both of these will it'll improve them a little bit, but
Yeah.
yeah. The next is Lone Druid. So he was nerfed in terms of the damage he takes from the bear, which is further down. We went over that last night. But now, the bear has 300 mana, so you can buy your Sick
It's
Mask of Madnesses,
significant.
and you can also, it also means you can use Hand of Midas on it, and more importantly, it will now give the XP to Lone Druid, so you won't have to shuffle
The
around.
Global
the second
Midas
change is
XP.
sorry. But the second change is just quality of life. Before, if you had two Midases, Lone Druid would use one. He'd give it to the bear. The bear would give him the other Midas. He'd use it again. That's
Yep.
it. But
It just makes things a bit
now,
easier. Yeah.
yeah. Apart from if you're stuck in the base, somehow your bear goes out and you're separated, and he has Midas off cooldown. Okay,
Yeah.
that you can use it.
I mean, I
Apart
guess
from
it
that,
means because
I think-
mid game people
I
were
think-
using bear as sort of a portable radiance thing, like they'd go and sit it in a lane. So
Yes,
it
basically.
does allow you minus like that. But yeah, no, I don't think it changes too
I think the
much.
first change is a really
Exactly,
significant
yeah.
one because not
Yes.
only can it use like active items, like it can put Mjolnir on itself, it can abyssal people, it can use teleport scrolls now, which is really significant. You can put boots of travel on it because if the bear gets damaged, you can't recall it. But now, if they want to stop you from getting your bear back, they actually have to throw stuns on it and stuff. Like they actually have to expend mana to really frustrate you. So I think it's really significant that it can use boots of travel and teleport scrolls.
Yep.
With this 300 mana.
it makes it a bit weaker against heroes who abuse mana, like anti-mage. But who picks that, right?
To be honest, I think what you're losing in that regard. I mean, I guess Lion can mana drain off it, but what you're losing in that regard is more than made up for in the fact that I haven't actually considered TPs, but yeah, no, that is a very very important point. It gives it.
I was
bear
actually
a lot
just
more
thinking of
mobility.
Dagon, to be honest.
Yeah,
But that's about it.
it entangles
And
and Dagon. Yeah.
now
Why
when they see the spirit bear, they'd be like, "Lion, drain him," before he does anything, right?
Oh god, is it? Well, you can. I think Mask of Madness is actually would be something you would consider on the because given you have got Demolish, it allows him to tear through a tower. I mean, depending on the game, certainly, but it's something. I think it gives the hero more utility. And plus with the game slowing down once again, that he now actually has the time to get the farm onto both himself and the bear.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah. So next is Lycan. So a few
Changes to
changes. I mean, the big change is that Shapeshift now takes 1.5 seconds to transform. It used to be instant. Now you have to stand still while Lycan turns into a wolf.
Do you think that makes people want to get Blink Dagger on him? You shapeshift in the trees and then you jump in or something?
To be honest, I don't think that really. One thing actually to consider is that the transformation time, if you stun him, if you silence him, he still finishes transforming. If you turn into a sheep, he will still transform into the wolf. But it means that he has to stand still for 1.5 seconds, which does actually hurt. Like, I mean, it means that it's harder for him to run away. You can get more people can get into range. Before, basically, if Lycan saw anybody, he'd pop ultimate and just be out of there.
No, I think no. It's definitely an extra 1.5 seconds to damage him if you don't have a stun. If you have a slow, then it is an extra time. You know. The increase in speed is nice. I suppose it doesn't really balance out the nerfs he got.
No,
he doesn't attack slower. Sorry, yeah.
No, you're going.
Yeah, he attacks slower. He can't use it as often, especially the biggest change is at level 3. Before it was 40 seconds, now 60.
Yeah.
When the cooldowns are low, adding a second is a big difference. When the cooldown is high, 100 seconds, adding 20 is no difference.
Yeah.
But 40 to 60 is big.
Absolutely, yeah. And I agree. I think he's not even, I'd say, stronger in the shapeshift because he's lost the base attack time increase. He can certainly catch up to somebody a little bit faster. Like, although
he's still got the crit.
I'm trying to think I mean, he doesn't. But the base attack time does hurt him.
Yeah.
The speed, I think, it helps him catch up to somebody, but it's also going to make it more difficult. Like if he was going to get away, he if with this change, I don't think he's really going to get away from more things than he would have gotten away from in the past. It doesn't, because it doesn't counteract the fact that you have to stand still for 1.5 seconds and transform, which means you can be hit by less rack stun. Like any stun that was maybe difficult to hit is now very, very easy.
Yeah, but now shapeshift seems a bit weak. All you get is a bit of movement
Yeah,
speed
no.
and crit.
To be
Compared to
honest,
before,
have you played it yet?
no,
Like
I update the patch today.
yeah, okay. It almost it feels like you don't want to transform because well, at the very least you have to be transforming before a fight. And the thing is, duration's only 20 seconds. I don't think there's the only thing that's really comparable is Lone Druid, and even Lone Druid is just he just walks around in ultimate form because he gets bulk out of it. Whereas with this, it's like if you use it in the middle of a fight, you have to stand still for 1.5 seconds. That gives people time to move away from you. It gives them time to react. So I agree. It almost does feel a little weak at the moment. Having said that, Howl and Wolves are still Howl and Wolves. So
I don't know. Just shapeshift used to give you extra life
yeah.
and used to give you a ton of attack speed
I
compared
mean,
to now.
all it gives now is the movement speed
Movement
bonus.
and
Yeah.
crit. That's it.
Oh yeah, and crit. Yeah.
Magnus.
Yeah, so Magnus Empower is no longer dispelled by spell immunity, which I think is more quality of life than anything else. It's a nice change, and also the mana cost has been rescaled, so it costs more at level 4. It costs 10 less at level 1. It scales by 10 per level.
The Empower mana cost I don't think makes a difference,
No.
but not being removed by spell immunity is big for
Yeah,
heroes like
absolutely.
Sven.
Yes. Or
Yeah, and
Lifestealer. You put it on Lifestealer, he rages, he still has
Yeah.
the Empower.
I mean,
I think
honestly,
it's great for those two.
even on Luna, I mean, the plus damage by itself is quite substantial. So,
Yeah.
it definitely means that he can. But before it was like you used it on your carry, and they were like, "Well, thank you, I can go and farm with this, but I can't."
use it for
Yeah,
fights.
or I can attack towers, but as soon as we get into a fight, it's gone. Whereas now, yeah, it's there for longer, and I think the hero still. I mean, maybe you could see him picked for the Empower in certain lineups, or at least use the Empower, but.
No, I mean he has more than power. He has
Yeah,
RP, one of
obviously,
the
yeah,
biggest ultimates.
yeah, true, true.
And I think that was one of the things that was holding him back was that he just wasn't carry friendly to his team.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
He'd empower himself, but what did he do? He'd get a refresher orb and no damage
yeah,
anyway.
exactly.
But now you can repower your carry. They can BKB. I think it's a bigger change than just quality of life.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, because having said that, looking at it, it reads like a quality of life, but the amount of impact it will have is relatively substantial. I mean, do you think that it counteracts the nerfs he received to his ultimate and so forth? Do you think that it'll actually make him see more play?
I never thought that Magnus was unpickable, even after the damage
Yeah,
nerfs, to be
yeah.
honest. But
Yeah.
will this make him play more? I hope so. I think
Mhm.
he's a really
Mhm.
cool comeback hero.
Fair enough.
And anyway, excuse me for 2 minutes.
Sure
Sorry.
thing. All right, so we'll head over onto words over to Medusa. So her mana shield, the damage absorption rate has been increased by 10%, so from 50 to 60. So just all round, she gets even more cost efficiency out of HP
Yeah.
items, bulking up.
And then the buffs to Mystic Snake are really good. Like
Yeah.
the increased mana steal. Like people should have been maxing this first anyway.
Yeah.
But now it's even better. Like you could almost say she's a 1v2 specialist because she throws it at the range creep, and now they don't have enough time to run away. So
Yep.
she gets 3 stacks of mana stolen. She has all the mana cost back from state, and she can just keep throwing it at them.
Yeah, I think the speed increase from 633 to 800 is actually relatively. You don't have a lot of time to react to the thing flying at you now. But as you said, I mean, people were generally already maxing it anyway because it was the only skill of hers that didn't scale. So it makes it a bit better for those who did it. The next is a change to Meepo. So basically, the boots will now match whichever slot Meepo Prime has his boots in. I think
That's
the
just a
idea here
hotkey buff. It's a hotkey buff.
is it like I mean
So-
okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, basically all it means is that the position in the inventory of the Meepo clones, they're they'll all have their boots in the same slot. So if you want to do quick mass TPs, it's going to be much easier because you just use the same hotkey for all of them.
Yeah, fair enough. So basically just quality of life then. So I think, yeah, not really too important. Next is Marana. So her leap speed has been reduced by 400, 2,600. And also, the leap distance has been rescaled. So it's 30 stronger when maxed, but 30 weaker at level 1 and 20 weaker at level 2. It's been 20 stronger at level 3. So it basically means that you can't. It's slightly weaker if you have only 1 point in it. I'm not. And it was already kind of bad at level 1 just in terms of raw escape. Allowed it to reposition, certainly. But I think it's more just the speed reduction is more important to me.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't really have much to add to that. Like it's a minor change. It's really not going to make it's. I can't think of any situations where it's really going to make a noticeable difference.
the distance, at least, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just to bring the hero back a little bit, she is a very, very popular sort of support utility hero. It makes
A
it
very
a bit worse.
frustrating hero.
Yeah. Next is Nature's Prophet. So basically, his treants now have no magic resistance, rather. So
Yeah.
they will take full damage from all spells, all nukes. How much damage do those treants have?
It's 500, I think.
Okay, I'm just going to check that.
500 or 550.
Okay, yeah, because I was just thinking, I mean, it brings it within range of some ultimates. I was trying to think, is there anything else?
Can't think of many.
Yeah.
I can't think of why you would ultimate his creeps to try and clear them. Like, other than Quap with an
Yeah, it's
Aghanim
550.
Scepter.
And I'm just trying to think, 3...
Actually, that's a thought. I think they'll now automatically die to Quap with Ags.
Yeah, okay, so there you go.
Because before they may have just survived.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And then also certain double nukes.
Yeah. Shadow Rays.
Oh, not even that. Puck 280 wouldn't have killed them before. Puck's 280 plus 280 wouldn't have killed them before. It will now, I believe.
That's true.
Luna. Sorry, Lena, rather.
It'll kill them by 10 damage.
Yep. I'm trying to think. What's another? Yeah, Lena is another one.
Yeah.
There's probably the two big ones. Also, Timbersaw. No, it still won't kill it.
No, Timbersaw's
Damage isn't high enough. No.
He's all pure damage as well, so it didn't matter.
Oh well, I'll see more whirling death in a single chain, like if he wasn't next to trees. But it's not enough anyway. But anyway, it means that they're slightly easier to nuke down, and I think more just sort of they have to be a bit more hesitant about. They're going to take more chip damage certainly, but overall, the hero is still going to be very strong. It just means that treants are slightly easier to clear for your supports.
The one problem I have to see with this is I think it's going to try and convince more fools to go Necrobook rather than negative tower armor, which I think is actually more effective because you're not feeding any gold to the other team by doing that. And it makes you so much more useful in team fights. Like you put an AC and a Deso on Prophet, not only is he going to cleave through your towers because it's like tower armor. What is that? But he's also bringing a shit ton of negative armor to the team fights with the mobility that he brings.
Yep.
It's overall just a whole lot better. It makes him a much better hero. So
yeah, I mean,
this just makes him easier to deal with.
Absolutely. Yeah. So next is Necrolite. So basically,
this is a big buff.
Sort of. Okay, yeah. Well, the change is that the respawn time has been changed from a 30% to a flat 30, and I think that's stronger at basically all points of the game. Except if they've brought back, I think.
Yes.
Except if the enemy has.
It's weaker. Yeah,
if the enemy has more than. No, even then it can be better. If the enemy has more than 100-second respawn time, only then.
Only then is it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only situation. But sometimes even early game they can buy back, and you can hit them with this.
And it's still
maybe they're 50 seconds. Yeah. Before you had 15, now you had 30.
I think to me the most important thing of this is that I felt it was a very, very bad skill at level 6, and it added less damage to a fight, added less stun to a fight. Then like if Vengeful threw her stun in, you would have got more fight impact out of it. And at that point in the game, the slow down 30% isn't all that much, whereas a flat 30 is actually a lot.
Yes. Huge. I mean, let's say you kill one of a low-level support, they might come back in 10 seconds. Before you had 30 seconds, that's 13. Now you had, 30% is 13. Now you had 30 seconds, that's 40. That's big.
Yep.
But yeah, aside from that, I think we go on to Night Stalker.
Yep.
Yeah. I would just like to say that I think Hunter in the Night, this change doesn't change it from being a 1-point wonder. Like, it just makes it even better if you put more points into it. Like, it's probably one of the best. It's probably the best 1-point wonder passive in the game. Like, let's be honest. Like, okay, maybe Corrosive Skin might be slightly better as a 1-point wonder, but this,
Yeah.
I don't think this will necessarily change the way people take it. It just makes it even better if you do.
Yes. You'll still leave it at level 1, max out the other 2 spells. But when you take it, you get a bit more benefit out of it.
Yeah. I feel it's in the same vein as the Jakiro buff in that it's more just to say you can take more points into it if you want, and it'll scale better now that it does.
The darkness duration level 1 is nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That to me is actually the more substantial.
Darkness level 1 was pretty bad. Like 25 seconds. 25 seconds for a 180-second cooldown is not really worth it. But now, like the extra 15 seconds, it's not too bad.
Yeah, and if you use it twice in the same night, which I think you should be able to do easily, you get an extra 30 seconds, which of nighttime, which is on this hero is big. Now on other heroes, not so much, but Night Stalker really benefits from it.
And people will still be buying the Aghanim Scepter as like second or third item on him anyway.
I mean, I think the changes don't really they basically make the hero a bit more playable.
Actually,
yep.
That's it. So I was going to say that's one thing I want to question. In what order would you get Crimson Guard and Aghanim Scepter on this hero now?
I would say Crimson Guard first, probably. Actually, just because Crimson Guard doesn't scale that well.
Yeah.
But
I would definitely say it's a new core in this hero. Absolutely.
Really? How you get him armlet?
It lets him tower dive while completely ignoring the tower. Because not only does he get the better damage block from it, but he also gets the he gets the extra armor, and he gets the activated damage block. He's going to be blocking 2/3 to 3/4 of every tower's hit with that item. And he was already designed entirely around tower diving to begin with.
That's true. I'm going to have to run off for sort of 10-20 minutes. So
it's okay. Maybe we can conclude this in a third-part video. What do you think about that?
Was later tonight good for you?
This is already
actually,
the third part.
we'll be back at some point tonight. That should be good. Or would tomorrow? I'm not really fast.
I'm not really sure. We'll have to discuss it. But yeah, there's only a few heroes left. But I think about 20, so not that much.
Okay. So to be concluded. As always, thank you for watching, and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.